On the night of the presidential debate, Taylor Swift made it official, posing decent troll move there. I'll give her that with her cat. She writes, like many of you, I watched the debate tonight. If you haven't already, now's a great time to do your research on the issues at hand and the stances these candidates take on the topics that matter to you the most. As a voter, I make sure to watch and read everything I can about their proposed policies and plans for this country. I doubt that. I somehow doubt that, but okay.
Yes.
Recently, I was made aware that the AI of me, quote unquote, falsely endorsing Donald Trump's presidential run was posted to his site. It really conjured up my fears around AI and the dangers of spreading misinformation. It brought me to the conclusion that I need to be very transparent about my actual plans for this election as a voter. The simplest way to combat misinformation is with the truth. So that's another decent troll. She's saying, look, I might not have made this endorsement known if you didn't pretend that I endorsed you. I will be casting my vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in the 2024 presidential election. I'm voting for Kamala because she fights for the rights and causes I believe need a warrior to champion them. I think she is steady-handed.
You mean like locking up the blacks? Is that what you believe?
Well, I mean, look, she
did a lot of that. She did a lot of that.
She's got a lot of reading to do. She probably hasn't gotten to that yet. You know, she reads everything, so she'll get to that. She'll get to that, and we'll see if she takes it back.
Keeping people on death row who might be exonerated by DNA evidence by fighting against admitting that evidence.
Yeah.
Is that what she means? I didn't know Taylor Swift had such a strong position on executing the innocent.
Yeah.
Is that? Does she have a song about that? I don't know her catalog.
I think she's a steady-handed, gifted leader, and I believe we can accomplish so much more in this country if we are led by calm and not chaos. I was so heartened and impressed by her selection of running mate Tim Walz, who's been standing up for LGBTQ rights, IVF, and a woman's right to her own body for decades. I've done my research.
What's a little genocidal intent up against that?
I've done my research, and I've made my choice. Your research is all yours to do, and the choice is yours to make. I also want to say, especially to first-time voters, remember that in order to vote, you have to be registered. I also find it's much easier to vote early. I'll link where to register and find early voting dates and info in my story, which is her bio. That's the Instagram version of a bio is your story, so the whole link in bio thing. With love and hope, Taylor Swift, childless cat lady. Obviously, that's what this photo was in reference to here. Some people want to pretend that this country has not fallen as far as to the point where her endorsement would make a difference. But I assure you, folks, it has. And I've been on this beat for a long time. More than 337,000 people visit Taylor Swift's link to register to vote. Taylor Swift's endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris for president may boost voter registration beyond Democrats', quote, wildest dreams. The General Services Administration, which oversees the website, confirmed to NBC News that as of 2 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, 337,826 people had visited a custom URL that Swift posted on Instagram when she announced she was endorsing Harris. The custom URL directs people to vote.gov, a website that helps visitors register to vote in their states. The site also breaks down Americans' voting rights, explains election processes, and provides a roadmap to frequently asked questions. Swift's Tuesday post, which has gotten more than 9.6 million likes, urged voters to do their own research and remember to register. In a boost to the Harris campaign, Swift unveiled her endorsement to her massive Instagram following of 283 million accounts after the debate. Now, folks, like I said, there's been some debate here. You have, a lot of the Republicans are trying to say that this endorsement isn't going to matter. And, some people, even in our space, are in denial about the fact that her endorsement means something. And I have to give you a word of advice here, which is you have to just let go. Let go of your hopes for this country. Let them go. Let them go. You don't need to be. This is not a reason to be depressed or anxious or upset.
Keaton is really the hospice care center of America.
Don't make me laugh too hard today because I have a cold. I'm liable to have a coughing fit if I laugh too hard. But yes, yeah, let it go. That doesn't mean we don't care about each other. Doesn't mean we don't do mutual aid. Doesn't mean we don't organize unions. Doesn't mean we don't protest war. Doesn't mean we fight to make our lives and the lives of our friends and neighbors as good as it can be. But as an entity, as a political entity, as a thing in history, the country is done. It's finished. A country that has been swallowed by corporations and stands for nothing, in that kind of country, it makes absolute, total, and perfect sense that Taylor Swift would achieve that iconic status. Iconic status. She makes perfect sense as an icon in 2024, just the way Bob Dylan made perfect sense as an icon in the 60s, right? Just the way Michael Jackson made perfect sense as an icon in the 80s. Taylor Swift is an icon. And you could put this in terms of music, but even in terms of culture, it makes total sense that she is where she is and that her endorsement would carry this weight. Because what is the ethos of this country? Nothing. It's nothingness in nice corporate packaging. That's what she is. And she carries weight for that reason. And I just want to play this, and then I'll toss to you, Russell, because this is one of my favorite pieces of video from the man. Don't take it from me. Take it from George Carlin. This was in 2007. On the Keith Olbermann show, back when Keith Olbermann actually stood for something. And here he is saying this 17 years ago. 17 years ago.
Power does what it wants. Power does what it wants. And now they're just more naked about it. Now they just put it right out front and say, this is what we're doing to you folks. It's, this country's finished. It's been sliding downhill a long time. And everybody's got a cell phone that makes pancakes, so they don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to make any trouble. People have been bought off by gizmos and toys in this country, and no one questions things anymore. Seriously, that's what I love about your show. I mean, you bring the...
Okay, before we get into that, so that part is admittedly dated. That part is admittedly dated.
If he were alive today, he'd be coming at Olbermann harder than anyone.
Yeah. Okay. So that part is dated, but the first part, what we just played, talk about being ahead of your time. That was in 2007 when phones weren't even that great. That was back in the flip phone era. He says people have been bought off with their phones. That is true 1,000 times over now, and he's absolutely right. That's what the country has become. So in a country that has just been bought off, in a country whose population has been bought off to basically sleepwalk through their own downfall, because they could do whatever they want on their phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all day, every year. It makes sense. It makes total sense. It's not a surprise to me at all. And it's not tragic to me at all that Taylor Swift pulls this kind of weight. This is capitalism run amok. She is the end stage capitalist superstar. This is what a cultural icon looks like when money has swallowed any sense of meaning that a state could possibly represent. And so there you have it. Taylor Swift comes out for Kamala Harris, and instantly more than 250,000 people visit that link to go and register to vote. So yes, it does mean something, and it's okay that it means something. It's okay that this country is on its way out. There's nothing at all to be it is nothing to be upset about.
Death is just a transition to a new stage of life. Listen to Keaton. Yeah. Listen to Keaton. It's okay. It's all right. It's all right. Go into the light.
Okay. Go into the light. Go into the light. Stop fighting it. Stop fighting it.
All right. So when I was watching the debate, I did make the reference because it's such a common reference. But honestly, unbidden, I kept thinking of Idiocracy. It really is Idiocracy. You saw it in the conventions. Certainly the debate struck me that way, that this is just idiocy. It's just idiocy. You've got this guy fulminating. You got the other one platituding. This is, come on, man. Look at where we are as a nation, that these two are the choices for president. Look at what it says about us, that we ended up there, from having Hulk Hogan on the stage at the Trump rally. But to your point, yeah, I mean, Taylor Swift is just an empty corporate vessel. Unlike, look, I've never been a pop person, but Michael Jackson was supremely talented. Even Madonna, she had an aesthetic, she had a vision. It was never my cup of tea, but I never said she's a hack. I never said why do people listen? I understood why people found her appealing. And of course, you go back further than that. You get people like the Beatles who are actually doing experiments with music and musical form. Obviously, by the time you get to Michael Jackson and Madonna, you've already had a decline from that. But they had ability, they had talent, there was something going on there. They were unique. They weren't quite like anybody else in their era. Taylor Swift, you feel like a computer. You feel like we're not very far from AI being able to generate Taylor Swift,
Well,
being
no,
able
I
to
mean,
generate the look, the music, everything about her
the
is
Instagram
so
post,
it's so
AI could have written that post. That's what I was going to comment. Yeah.
it's so bland, it's so unoriginal, it's so uninteresting, and it is a result of people having their standards systematically lowered over time. This is not just speculation. Musicologists have looked at the complexity of what you hear on pop radio now as opposed to 30 years ago, and it's gotten more simplistic, more simplistic, more simplistic because it got eaten up by the corporations. The corporations who have, just want to make money with no risk. They figured out the science of, well, the brain wants to hear what it's already accustomed to. So if you have these hooks that are just like other hooks people have heard, and then you just put it in an appealing package, that's really all you need to do. You don't need to take chances on a Jimi Hendrix. You don't need to get some very odd singer like Janis Joplin and give her a record contract. That's very risky. Frank Zappa had a great little monologue. You could probably find it online where he talked about this. And he said, in the old days, you had Sid in the office and he didn't understand this music. And he's sitting there with the cigar. He said, we'll print 5,000. We'll see how it goes. And it either flew or it didn't fly. Now you've got these people who have music degrees, and you would think that would have improved the music. But actually, now they know what product they want, and they are not open to trying things. So actually, you were much better off when you had Sid with the cigar running things than you have now when you've got these kids with music degrees making these decisions.
Well, also, yeah. I mean, look, on the music front, we could talk forever about that. But the other thing that has created, Swift as an icon musically is that now with streaming, it's very hard to sell albums, which means you can only really sell music that you could sell to everyone.
Right.
Music is only worth investing in if you can mass market it, make it so generic that everyone wants it, right? Because otherwise, people have their streaming services, they find that they're little artists here and there, and then the artists have to get a very, very devoted crop of followers to buy their stuff on vinyl, and they have to tour, right? The only artists you can really mass market are the oones that are going to go huge, and right now, that's her. And on the cultural point, I just
even you look at, I mean, not to interrupt, just you look right now, the up and coming indie singer is Chapel Roan, and I listened to her stuff. And it's not bad for what it is, but she's just recycling the 80s. There's nothing new or innovative there. She's good at selling it. Like she's a talented performer and she has a good ear for a hook, but there's nothing there that we haven't already done. I mean, that's when a culture is exhausted, when it just repeats its old forms endlessly with nothing new really coming to take the place of what people are familiar with. They just keep recycling it.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't heard who you're talking about. I haven't even heard of her. But on the cultural point and on the, sort of disengagement point, when I say let go into the light, I'm talking about very specifically in the context of this presidential race. I don't mean stop caring about everything. If I meant that, we wouldn't be doing this show. No, we should be organizing workers. We should be organizing strikes. We should be protesting genocide. We should be boycotting Israel. We should do all those things. And we should care very deeply about doing all those things. We should build mutual aid networks to take care of each other. Like we should still care about the world and our place in it. But if you're talking about the United States as an entity, and you're talking about Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris, some people are really troubled by the fact that this campaign about nothing has a decent chance to win. They're very upset by it. They're like, they still are talking about this like it's 2016, and they're expecting something different. I'm saying stop expecting something different. George Carlin saw this 17 years ago. That was pre-Obama. He saw this. Right? Now, he is particularly brilliant. I don't expect everybody to function on his level. I certainly don't. But the writing's been on the wall long enough. In terms of like presidential politics, forget about it. Forget about it. People say this is the most important election of our lifetime. I actually think this is the least important election of our lifetime. I actually do. I actually think it matters least of all the recent presidential elections who wins. Do you agree with that? What do you think?
I don't think I do, given that we're on the verge of World War III. And I do think that Trump's foreign policy would be considerably different from what you have right now, particularly in regards to Ukraine and Russia. So on that level alone, when you're talking about, say, nuclear holocaust, I can't say we are closer to that than we've been since the Cuban Missile Crisis. I don't think that's hyperbole. So yeah, I'd say it's consequential on that level. In terms of the trajectory of the country, are either of these administrations going to change that trajectory or drastically change public policy? No. But given the whole nuclear holocaust thing, I'd say it's pretty consequential.
I was going to give you... Oh, there you go.
Good point, Charles, yeah. Good point, Charles, yeah.
There you go.
Please clap.